And as we prepare our notes, here we go. Hey, everybody, welcome to the fourth and final webinar for first-time marathoners. My name is Nathan Freeberg, and joining me is...
Jesse Benson from The Right Fits.
Awesome. Not Right Fits Running, as I normally call it, but therightfits.com. Go check it out. Jesse has a great post on there, I think today, about mental toughness. Is that from today or yesterday?
That was from today. Yeah, thanks,
Yeah.
Nathan.
Yeah, it was really good. And I think if you take one thing away from there, it's to picture Ryan Gosling as you're struggling
Well,
on the marathon.
you need to picture whoever it is that helps you stay motivated. It could be
Right.
anybody.
Which is Ryan, which is
Yeah.
the baby goose, Ryan Gosling. So I think who doesn't that motivate, right? I'm
Yeah,
just
it's true.
but tonight we are talking, and I'm talking a little bit quieter than normal, just because I am at Coco downtown Minneapolis, which is in the old Grain Exchange building, which is very cool. You can see a little bit of it here. That's the ceiling.
Wow.
And there's like two people here because it's after hours, obviously. This is where our office space is. It kind of echoes. So, but tonight we are talking about the Expo, the Race Expo recovery, and then we would really love it for you guys to submit some questions. So hopefully there'll be some people out there who have a lot of questions that they want
Yes,
to ask.
please ask some questions.
Yes, absolutely, because that will make this all the more exciting. So to start things off, Jesse, why don't we talk to people a little bit about the Race Expo? And well, first of all, what is an expo, Jesse?
Well, the expo is a lot of things to a lot of people.
It sure is.
First and foremost, the most important thing that you're doing at the expo is you're going there to get your bib and your chip. So you go there, that's the first thing you want to do, just go get your bib and your chip. And then there's a lot of other stuff going on at the expo, and it's a lot of fun. And I think you should encourage your friends and your family to come with you because it's free and there's a lot you can learn, and it'll get you really pumped up about running in the marathon. So whether you're a runner or like a super runner, go to the expo. That's
Yeah,
my
even if you're not running the marathon, as you said, it's fun to go and just see. And there's all kinds of, I think there's over 120 vendors, and there's seminars and workshops and just all kinds of fun stuff to do those. So yeah, you definitely want to go check it out. And there's also lots of great deals there. There's all of the running retailers in the Twin Cities are there and beyond. And what is the number one rule about buying stuff the week of the marathon, though, Jesse?
Well, Nathan, that number one rule is that whatever you buy at the expo, as fun and exciting as it is that you bought this new cool thing,
Hmm.
don't try it out the next day or the 2 days later at the race.
No.
Wait, try it out later.
Yeah, absolutely. Because yeah, you don't know how it's going to respond. So, Jesse, we have our first question, and so I think we're gonna just kind of play this one a little bit more by the hip because we started a
Awesome.
little bit later. So, I'm gonna ask you this question, Jesse, and then if you want me to answer it, I can as well. So, Jesse, doing 16 marathons on your way to number 17, what advice slash insight do you wish someone would have told you before your first marathon?
What advice about, oh gosh, that's a tough one. I don't know. Nathan, do you have an answer already? Have you thought about something that you wish you would have known?
Yeah, well, we kind of talked about this in the first one, but that was just how important kind of your routine and structure and what you eat the night before is. I didn't, as we talked about earlier, didn't really plan for that, and I didn't know kind of how much having an unusual meal, even though it wasn't that unusual, would affect me the next day. So I think what I wish someone would have told me would have been stick to your routine, find some food that really works for you, and just eat that and only that, and actually pay attention to that. Never really thought about that before. Yeah. What about you? Anything come to mind?
Yeah,
Now
for
that I
my
saw.
first marathon, my biggest mistake was not drinking enough at every water stop. It's going to be really nice, great weather for Twin Cities on Sunday, and a lot of other marathons that are happening in the fall this Sunday. So you probably don't think you need to drink as much, but I would say continue your normal fueling program. Drink at every water stop. Take your goos, even if you're not feeling that bad in the beginning, because it's going to come back and bite you later if you don't.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Moving on to kind of our next sort of tip about the expo. Um, Kind of going off of that expo seminar, so if you're running Twin Cities, you've probably gotten several emails from Twin Cities Emotion as well as us over here at MinneapolisRunning.com. But look at the schedule and try to just go to something that looks interesting and fun, because again, there's these seminars that sometimes might not be free. You might have to pay for them at other places, but they're just really amazing seminars, and you can learn a lot. Some great services, some great advice, stuff like that. Jesse, what other advice do you have? How many Twin Cities TCM expos have you been to?
I've been to three. My first one was kind of my first marathon. I don't really talk about that much. It was kind of a fail, but my second two Twin Cities were great. And in terms of the expo, I would say plan a lot of time so that you have time not to rush through it. But it's always better to go on Friday because it's not going to be as busy. Twin Cities isn't like crazy busy, but it still can get kind of crowded. So if you can go on Friday because then Saturday you can just focus totally on resting your legs and not being on your feet as much as possible. But I know a lot of people work full time and you need to go on Saturday, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
Just, you know, try not to be on your feet as much as possible the rest of the day when you're not at the expo. When you're at the expo, and embrace it. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of cool vendors there. It's such a great energy, and there's a lot of fun for like your family. So bring your friends and family.
Absolutely. And I think, yeah, I would just add, if you can, and I'll go Friday, definitely do that for the reasons Jesse just mentioned. And I think it allows you time to just kind of linger there, and you still have another day before the race, and so you can kind of sandwich that in there, and then you can spend all of Saturday just with your feet up, relaxing, drinking, kind of carbing up, whatnot.
Nathan, are you going to the expo on Friday, or are you going on Saturday?
I am going on Friday. And also, I was just going to add that Friday I think it's at 12:15, is the elite press conference with all of the crazy fast runners. If you can go to that, I would highly encourage you to do that, because it's just amazing to listen to these people who, I mean, they're so focused, they're so disciplined, they're so dedicated. I mean, they're professional runners. So, what other sports can you go and be, 10 or 15 feet away from people who are, just about at the top? Are at the top of their game. So it's really fun to do that. So I'll be there. I'll probably be at the expo from about 11 to 2 through 2:30, something like that, just wandering around, depending on how much stuff is there, which is a lot, but not buying anything, of course. But Jesse, this is a slight tangent, but I was just thinking about it earlier today. So the world record was just set in the marathon at the Berlin Marathon, which you have run. Is that a crazy fast course, or what's the deal? Because last year it was set there as well.
Yes, it's pretty amazing. It just keeps getting faster, and it's crazy to think that the full marathon time is what some people, their lifelong goal is to run under 2 hours for a half marathon. So it's really fast. And yes, Berlin is it's flat and fast, and the energy is amazing. At the same time, for the people in the middle of the pack like I was, you can read my review on therightfits.com. Just look for the Berlin Marathon. For me, it was really crowded, so it wasn't my fastest race ever.
Yeah.
On like European roads that are kind of crushed, and for me, it wasn't the fastest, but in general, yes, it's a really flat, fast course, and it's cool that I was there last year when the world record was set. And it's even awesomer to think that it was set again this year at the same place.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Let's see, a couple other tips about the expo. Let's see, I'm just kind of going back over my notes here. Go Friday.
My next note, Nathan, was about what to wear to the expo.
Oh,
And
yeah, sorry, I was skipping between a couple of those. Yeah, actually, Jesse, what should I wear? I think about this every year. I never know if I should go in like running shorts and a running shirt, or if I should go in a suit and a tie. Can you help me out?
I think both of those are a really bad idea. Don't go in a suit and a tie, and don't go in running shorts. You don't want to look like you're trying too hard in running shorts, but at the same time, you want to be comfortable. It's not the time to get all dolled up and wear high heels, and you don't want you to go into the race the next day with blisters already and sore feet. So wear something comfortable.
You're not there to impress anybody. You're just there to get your stuff and enjoy.
But you know what? The marathon is a lot of things, a lot of people, but it is a race, so you want to look like you belong there. And I would say look like you belong there by wearing something comfortable, and wear flat shoes. Dress in layers because it can get kind of hot in there, I think.
Yes.
And yeah, So you might get kind of warm. Bring a water bottle. Nathan said last week,
Always.
you know, this whole week you should be drinking water. So bring your water bottle. Drink a lot of water while you're there. Don't like sample too many crazy things that maybe
Mhm.
are a bad idea. But yet, definitely take it all in and have a good time.
And I think just kind of, so Caribou Coffee is one of the big sponsors, and they're giving out free coffee. If you're going in the afternoon, maybe avoid that. Not because there's anything wrong with Caribou Coffee, but and it's going to keep you up at night. But it's if you're anything like me, it's like, hey, free coffee, I'm going to take it, drink it. Not if it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's probably not the best idea. So the other kind of note about the expo is that if you can't make it to the expo, make sure you send someone who can, or have someone else pick up your bib who actually can make it. And there's a form I think you need to fill out, or maybe just send your driver's license. But there's, unlike most other races, you can't pick up your bib or anything on race day. And so if you're like, well, I'll just show up a little bit earlier on Sunday morning, you will be out of luck. So make sure that you go or send someone else in your place to get it, because it's kind of an important thing that you want to have to attach to your body and to your shoe. All right.
Well, Nathan, it looks like you had a lot of good advice from Greg, who's one of the.
Yes. So Greg Hoppola, who is one of the, I forget his title. Sorry, Greg. But he works at TCM, and his kind of one of his big job responsibilities is putting on the expo. And so a couple of things that he mentioned that we've already talked about here is just catch some of the great deals. So a lot of the retailers might have, big clearance sales or whatever. Don't wear it the next day, as we've already said. The seminars, there's a whole list of those online. There's also some services like massage, adjustments, some other stuff, gait analysis, things like that, that you won't necessarily hopefully need or use in the marathon, but at least it might be something for you to think about for future running endeavors down the road. Um, Another thing, and just kind of a tip when you're there, is the volunteers are going to be wearing orange shirts with big info uh, thing on the front of it, graphic, I guess could call it. And so talk to them if you have questions about anything, and don't, especially if you're a first-time marathoner. Jesse, I don't know if you felt this way, but I know I did, just feeling dumb asking questions when I was at the first, or even my second marathon, because it just feels like everyone there knows what they're doing, and I hadn't a clue, and so I was just kind of wandering around, just staring at all the booths and everything. So definitely find someone with a volunteer shirt if you don't know what to do. Bring friends and family because it's free, and take it all in, but don't wear yourself out. So some great tips for you as you head out on Friday or Saturday. And just to kind of recap as well, the hours. So if you're doing a different marathon this weekend, I think Milwaukee is this weekend, Portland is this weekend. There's a few others. Jesse, isn't your sister doing something?
Yes, and I hope she's listening right now because then
Yeah.
she's going to feel special. But she is doing the Milwaukee Marathon, which is also Sunday, and I've done that marathon as well. It's a great marathon if you ever want to switch it up from Twin Cities.
Mhm.
But yep, same time, not the same place.
Yes. So if you are running the Twin Cities Marathon, um, the noon to 8 p.m. is when the expo is open on Friday, and then on Saturday it's 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. It might be 11 to 8 actually. So, but those are kind of the time frames. It's the St. Paul River Center, which is downtown St. Paul, very close to the Excel Center. The other thing, so if anyone has any questions about the expo, feel free to chime in here and ask. Um,
Okay, I have a question, Nathan. What are you
yes.
going to wear to the expo?
What am I going to wear to the expo?
Yeah.
Well, that's a good question. I'm going to wear jeans, and I actually thought a lot about whether or not I should wear running shoes or just normal casual shoes, because again, I don't want to look like necessarily a first timer, but I want to be comfortable. So I settled with a nice pair of casual shoes.
Okay.
I'm going to be wearing a button-down shirt just because I'm going to hopefully be talking to some of the elite athletes, and I don't want to look like I just rolled in off of a turnip truck or something. I don't know what
Sure.
that would look like, but so yeah, so I'll be there. I'll be wandering around. I was gonna maybe wear my Minneapolis running shirt, which looks like this, um, but I'm not going to because that's just trying too hard. So, but Jesse's making good faces there. So yeah, but if you do happen to see me, please say hello. I'd love to meet you and love to share kind of what your goals are and get excited for you because it's exciting. So.
Well, Nathan, how are you feeling? Are you feeling good for your race? It's your fifth time, right?
Yes, yes. So, okay, we're going to this part now. Yes, I'm feeling good. I have to be honest, I'm definitely a little bit nervous. I don't think I've ever been nervous for a race before. Um, Primarily, I think because I have a pretty intentional goal. I'm trying to qualify for Boston this year, which um, when I was back in my first marathon days, I never thought that was even remotely possible. And so now it's within my grasp, and a few things have to go right on race day, and I don't know. We'll maybe be in Boston. And it wouldn't be till 2016, but otherwise feeling good. I've had a good week as far as sleep goes, and I've been eating well, and yeah, just kind of nervous and uh, in a good way though, if that makes sense. But and I know that Jesse, we kind of joked about your post a little bit, but I really have been thinking about that. Not just today, but just how do you kind of what do you do with that nervous energy and how do you channel that? And I think there is a lot to be said for kind of sticking it somewhere because during a race, during any race, you're not going to feel good. Well, running never feels good all the time. And so thinking about, okay, how do I take this pain, this kind of I want to quit, I want to slow down, and how do I actually channel that into something productive? And so just thinking, I've been thinking a lot about, okay, how do I embrace that? How do I say, okay, it doesn't feel good right now, but I'm going to use that energy to actually push me further and push me harder.
Right.
Megan Payton, who is one of the Team USA elites, she's running the marathon. She had a quote, if you signed up for our little email newsletter thing, that just talked about like there's ups and downs in the marathon, and sometimes, when you're going down, just think of it as kind of, storing up that kinetic energy for that, next kind of soaring up. And so that's what I've been thinking a lot about. And, if Ryan Gosling helps me do that, so be it. I'm not ashamed to say he is a handsome man. So uh, moving on. Thank you,
Yeah.
Jess. Hey, Jess, so okay, I'll turn the tables. You have a marathon coming up in a few weeks.
Yeah, I'm not quite to the tapering yet, so I have a lot of hard work yet to go. So it's hard to relate, but I'm excited to be out there on Sunday and cheer for everyone. It's such a fun day,
Hmm.
and I'm wishing best of luck to you, Nathan, to achieve
Thank
your
you.
goals.
Thank you very much. Um, so, thinking of hopefully, noonish on Sunday, we'll be done with the race, hopefully faster. But recovery. Jesse, will admit that I don't think I've ever done a good job recovering from a race because when I cross that finish line, I am in different states of kind of mental with it, whatever. I just want to crash. I just want to go eat some pancakes and go to bed. It sounds like you've done a lot better job, at least with a couple of your marathons. Can you maybe talk a little bit about sort of race recovery tips? Definitely not hiking, I think, is something that you mentioned not to do. What have you found to be really helpful?
Yes. So I have had both ways where sometimes I've laid around and not done a lot after the marathon, and then other times I've really got up and walked around. And, we talked about fueling and fueling after the marathon, so it's definitely good to eat right away. But then in terms of like moving your body, I think it does really help, and it's helped me in the past to like get around and hike or walk around and just do something to loosen up your muscles. Maybe it's not right after the race or even that same day, but definitely the next day. I think it's important to move around as much as you can. Maybe you're lucky and you took off Monday after Twin Cities and you have the day off. Well, go for a nice
Great
walk.
idea. Yeah.
Yeah, great idea to take off Monday if you haven't already, if you still can. But get up and walk around. I've done when I did the Berlin Marathon that Nathan mentioned. We did a lot of sightseeing and walking around, and I actually think my legs really recovered a lot faster because I was moving so much versus other ones where I've been a little lazier for the couple of days, and my legs took a little longer to recover.
Yeah. And I think that active recovery is so important. Last year at the Elite conference, I'd asked all the elites, what do you do for recovery? And they all talked about
Mhm.
active recovery, which is, just walking around. Some of them even talked about going for a short run after the marathon, which I can't even fathom doing that. But, kind of just keeping it moving, keeping the blood flowing. Compression socks can be helpful. Um, Again, there's kind of different opinions on that, but got a question here from Jesse, not you. And this Jesse man, Jesse, but if you have questions too, Jesse, feel free to ask.
Sure.
He asks, will the Pacers be available during the entire Expo, and do you recommend meeting them before the race? Jesse, that's a great question. I don't know if they're going to be available for the whole Expo. I know they will be there. I definitely don't think you need to meet them before the race. I think it can be helpful, as the other Jessie, with an I referenced last week. She had a really great experience with a pacer, and so it can be helpful to meet them ahead of time and just kind of even talk a little bit about, kind of what's your plan, what's your strategy for getting at whatever time you want to do. But definitely, if you're really counting on a pacer to kind of meet your goals, I would say introduce yourself for sure before the race. Go up and find them, the 4-hour pacer or whatever, and say, hey, my name is Jesse, and I'm, hoping to run a 4-hour marathon. What's your, kind of approach to it, and then at least that way you've got someone to kind of chat with. So, good question.
Well, my
Uh,
thought on that is just that I think that they are going to have somebody at the Pacer stand the whole
yes,
expo. It may
somebody will. Yes.
Somebody will be there. It may not be your pacer, but you probably will be able to talk to them and get a good idea for whatever goal you have. And you'll be able to figure out what's going on with your pacer so you can figure out if it aligns with your plan or your race strategy that you determined last week when we talked about race strategy.
Yes, thank you for that clarification. Yes, some pacer will be there. It just may not be yours.
Right.
But yeah, I think definitely go talk to them. And yes, great point, Jesse.
Great question.
Yeah, excellent question. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about recovery. So walking around is really helpful. One thing that I have found, again, I said I haven't done this great, but everything I've read and everything I know I should do is there's kind of almost 3 phases of recovery. There's kind of that initial 90 minutes. There's like a bigger 3-hour window. There's that first day, and then there's the first uh, several days and weeks. And we don't have time to get into it tonight, but there's actually, I'll try to include something in the show notes about kind of actually a reverse taper, so to speak. And so the last couple of weeks you've kind of gone down in your running mileage, and now you actually, if you want to keep running, there's a way to actually do that safely to build back up so that you don't just go out and start running too soon. But so in the first 90 minutes, I like to eat, drink, and elevate. And all that means is I think I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, basically I have one of those shaker bottles that I put in my bag with some protein mix stuff in it in those little packets, or you could use one of those bottles like Jesse's drinking out of right now. Um, and I drink that, have something to eat, and then as soon as I can get my way through bag check and kind of get my stuff, I try to just lay down and put my legs up on something. I read somewhere something, I don't remember the exact science, but when you allow your kind of blood to flow back to your body, it's actually better because you've just spent so many hours pounding on your feet. It can really help in recovery and getting kind of blood moving again and flowing back through your legs, and it can really ward off a lot of soreness. Jesse, have you done anything like that? Have you experimented that much at all, or do you just start walking, climbing mountains?
Yeah, I'm all about the walking. I haven't done the feet elevation thing, but that sounds like a good idea. I might have to try that.
Yeah, and it feels great. It just feels so good to lay down too, so you may as well just stick your feet up. Um, then in the kind of the first 3 hours, to be honest, it's the same thing. You just want to have a bigger meal, drink even more, and then we already talked about this, but just moving around as much as you can. Your instinct is going to be want to go home and just go to bed, but go take a shower and then try to go on a little walk, at least throughout the day. Jesse, when you finished marathons in the past, how much walking do you do? I know that you said you did a lot of sightseeing, but from like maybe an hour or a time perspective, like a couple hours, you talking walk a little bit, sit down at a cafe, walk a little more, like what does that look like just practically? Does that make sense?
Well, I yeah, I think it varies per race, but I do think just getting up and moving around, even if it's just walking to a cafe and moving your legs a little bit so they're going to be less sore the next day and the day after that. But take this time to relax and not run and walk around more. And I don't know, you don't have to do anything crazy, but I'm not saying run for or walk for several hours, but even just like a 45-minute walk would be great.
hmm The other thing, so Jesse, have you ever gotten a massage post-race or any kind of treatment like that, or what have you pampered yourself with in that way?
Well, right at the finish line, I think they do have masseuses, right? So you
They
can
do.
get in
Yes.
line and get a massage. I've never done it after Twin Cities, right after the fact. I have done it the day after or maybe a couple of days later, and I think that's a really great idea. It's a really
Mhm.
fun way to pamper yourself after accomplishing such an amazing thing. What about you, Nathan? Do you get a massage or
You
what do
know,
you do?
last year was the first time I did, and so Ty Crabtree at Uptown Natural Care Center, who was a chiropractor I went to for a long time last year, and he does Graston and some active release techniques, and they're different types of. I guess Graston's not really massage; that's usually more for instruments, but that type of treatment is actually really good for post recovery. You can have them go light, but I definitely think that it's fun, or maybe not fun, but it just feels really good to have a massage. I've only done it once, but I have another one scheduled for Monday.
Where are
It's
you
just going to
going?
feel so good. Just a different place, but there's a couple of great places in town. I know that Lynn Lake Chiropractic, a lot of chiropractic places do it, I should say.
Are you
There's a place
suggesting
in
that someone
Northeast.
does more of like a sports massage or any kind of massage?
Yeah, I think it. Honestly, I don't. I think at that point it doesn't really matter. Just any kind of massage. If you can find someone who specializes in sports massage or any type of like I know Tide is Graston and active release, that's gonna do more almost kind of therapeutic type stuff. They're gonna be able to help you if you did run into any injuries during the race or have anything that's even more sore. But even honestly, just going to like the Aveda Institute and spending I don't even know how much it is, $30 or $40 on some of the students there, that's even going to feel I think better than just laying on your couch. So I know Spot Boutique in Northeast Minneapolis is awesome. They don't specifically do sports massage, but I've been there before and they do. They have magic fingers. Which sounds awkward. But moving on from that, so other types of treatment, Jesse, what else have you, or I should say, other types of recovery? So eating, moving, drinking, doing that
Well, I don't
in
know. Should
kind
we
of
talk
like
about like, are you going to be thinking about your next race or
yes,
how,
that's a good. Let's go there. So we kind of broke this up into physical recovery and mental recovery. So the physical recovery, I guess the other thing you can mention is ice baths. If that's something that can kind of bring swelling down and some other stuff. But it's also really tricky to do because you have to literally get like 15 pounds of ice unless you have naturally really cold water in your house, which a lot of people don't. But that can be good. But honestly, just moving a lot, um, stretching can be good. But yeah, so let's go to some of these mental recovery tips. Jesse, what's one tip that you have when it comes to mentally recovering? And I guess I should preface this by saying the reason we put this in there is because, especially first-time marathoners, you have spent the last 16 weeks focused on this one thing, right? So you've been training every weekend has been dedicated towards the long run. You've been spending all this time, and all of a sudden after the marathon, you've got this extra time, and you may not know what to do with yourself. You may not know, okay, what's next for me? There's a marathon blues, which has been written about in Runner's World and other running magazines. Jesse, I don't know if you've ever experienced that. It sounds like you just for for the
no,
next race
I've
you're gonna go.
definitely experienced it. I think it's a real thing where you kind of like lose your focus a little bit, and then all of a sudden you lost this thing that you've been working towards and you've been focused on, and it is kind of like a little bit depressing. And depending on how your race went, it'll kind of affect what you're looking towards. Did you qualify for Boston? If you did, well then yeah, you're going to be looking towards, okay, how am I gonna train for Boston the next time? Or if you didn't, if you were really close, and it's like, well, what race can I do the next time that maybe will be a better race for me? So I think it's important to take the time to like think about what things went really well with your training and on race day, and
Mhm.
then think about some things that maybe didn't go so well, but first think about the things that did go really well
Yes,
and focus on those
good
things, and then
distinction.
you can kind of, yeah, and then kind of think about those other things, and then start maybe thinking about your next race. A lot of people are one and done. You did it. It was a bucket list item. You're never going to do it again. Or maybe you're like Nathan and me, where you caught the bug and you keep wanting to do it better, and you want to keep doing it faster, and you want to do it again. So you
Yeah.
need to take some time. I think Nathan might talk a little bit about, I think you mentioned a reverse taper where you don't just jump right back into it again. You kind of ease back into the same mileage. You have like a
Yeah.
plan for what you're going to do before you actually start training for your next one, right?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, Jesse, I don't even remember what time we started, so if you do,
Oh,
that's great. But yeah, so I kind of mentioned that the reverse taper I think is a great thing to do. And my rule of thumb, and again, we don't have time to kind of lay it out for everybody, and we do have another question that I'll get to in a second. But my kind of practice is to take that whole first week off of running. I might go out and do a brisk walk by Wednesday. But again, this is geared toward first-time marathoners, and so you're not, everyone's body reacts so differently. You might find that going upstairs is impossible for you, but going downstairs is easy, or the reverse, or both is really hard, or just getting out of bed. But that soreness is going to be a reminder of what you did and what you accomplished, and hopefully you just sit with that for a few days, and just regardless of how you finish, if you finished half an hour off your goal or whatever, just be reminded of, okay, I did something that a tiny percentage of the general population is able to do, and it's just a tremendous accomplishment. So sit with that, think about that. um, as far as kind of taking time off, again, there's really no hard or fast rule, but for me it's about a week of any sort of serious running, and then kind of in that second week I start up again, usually with just like a 3 or 4 mile run, really easy, and just kind of gradually go from there. The other thing, if you do get the bug, if you do get kind of addicted, and Jesse, I appreciate you saying, like, or Nathan or I, you doing 16, this will be my fifth. So I'm, yeah. Uh, you can do it again. So the thought of it may be so daunting. I just, spent 4 months trying to, do this thing. And if you did it once, you can do it again. You don't have to do it right away. You can take a year, you can take 2 years, you can do some other races, whatever it is. Just kind of tuck that away in the back of your mind and think about it. The other kind of post, are you going to say something?
nope, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say the other, so my coach, Antonio Vega, he always says schedule time to do the things that you couldn't do while you were training. So if that's staying up late, if that's, having extra dessert, having an extra beer, whatever it is, like actually schedule time to do that, because it will feel so great and be so much fun to just do that without having to think about, oh, I gotta get up in the morning to run or whatever. So just enjoy that time, and maybe that lasts through the holidays. Who knows? Just don't get lazy and just don't stop altogether. So, Jesse, what other tips do you have for kind of mentally recovering from a marathon?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can take back your Friday night. Most likely during the training, your Fridays have been a little low key, and maybe your nights, it depends on when you do your long
Or
run.
both?
So take that back and have a fun night that to celebrate what you've accomplished. Nathan, I wanted to ask you personally, since this is your fourth time doing Twin Cities,
Fourth
right?
cities, yep.
Yeah. So what is your favorite part about the Twin Cities course?
Oh gosh. Oh, my favorite part about the course.
What are you looking forward to?
What am I looking
Other
for?
than the finish line, don't count that.
Finish line? Yeah. Okay. So not the finish line. I think for me, there's something I- euphoric. Maybe sounds too dramatic, but when you're coming down, I guess what would this be? West River Road, and you cross over the Franklin Bridge, kind of over by the U there. That moment when you're going up over the Franklin Bridge, you can look, I guess, getting my directions mixed up, but you look south, and you can see all the trees. You can, depending on when you look, you can see kind of both sides of the river, and kind of both the runners coming this way and the runners going that way. And there's just something magical about that course, because that's was part of my regular running route, a couple times a week. And so to have, it's almost like everybody else came to my normal running spot, and now it's just a sea of people wherever you can look. And that's also, I think, right around mile 17 or 18. Um, and for me personally, that's kind of the toughest part of the race for me. And so just to see that and kind of get that, all right, we're almost there. This is kind of the last, well, second to last stretch. Then you have Summit coming up. But I just love that. I don't know if you can relate to that spot at all. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Jesse?
no, definitely. I think it's a beautiful course. The whole thing is gorgeous, but And on that note, then, what would you say is kind of like the part where you're like, oh, I'm not looking forward to that part. What's your least favorite part?
All right, so the hill, what bridge is it under? There's a hill that I think it might be under the Lake Street Bridge. Um,
Oh, right.
you know which hill I'm talking about?
Yep.
It's kind of the first significant hill before you get to Summit. That hill every time is just the bane of my existence. It comes. I know it's coming. I think I partially psych myself out for it, and so this year I'm just going to keep, thinking positive thoughts and thinking about Ryan
Ryan got.
Gosling. And yes, exactly. So I want to answer this question quick. So Tony asks, this is my first large race, first time marathon or first large race. What time do you suggest getting to the corrals? That's a good question, Tony. So we've talked a little bit about what time to get to the race, which I would say at least by 6:45, if not earlier. I would say you want to probably be in the corral for sure by 7:45. Jesse, I don't know if you have a opinion about that. Um, any thoughts?
No, yeah, I think 7:45 makes sense. That means you actually have your check bag already dropped off. You're ready to go into the corral, and you're in there and in your place by 7:45. I
Yeah.
would definitely start moving that direction more like 7:30.
Yeah, so last year I got there, gosh, it was probably 7:58. I just got in the worst bathroom line, and then I went to the wrong sweat check bag, and so I was just like scurrying around trying to even find my corral. So this year I'm going to get there definitely earlier, but you also want to be careful not to get there too early, and just depending on kind of what your goals are and where you want to be. If you have a really specific time by your front, sometimes it's fun to start towards the back and then just pass a bunch of people. But I'd definitely say be in place, because actually the sweat check bag trucks, say that fast 5 times, they close at 7:45. So if you, I was lucky, they were actually shutting the door, and I was like, take this, and just chucked it to them. But yeah, so get there by 7:45 or earlier. Thanks, Tony. Good question. Um, all right, Jeff, as we move towards wrapping this up here, first of all, are there any other questions out there? We've got a bunch of viewers on now. Um, I know that
Gotta be last minute questions. The race is
last.
Sunday.
So Jesse, let's kind of play this game. So let's think back to your first time running TCM, or any marathon, maybe for that matter. What were some things that you, again, wish people would have told you? We kind of started the program with that question, but is there anything that, as you've been thinking about this, you wish you would have known then?
Well, I think that a lot of the things that we've talked about in the past three webinars, if I had only known about these sort
Yeah.
of things, I would have been way more prepared. So if you want to look back and listen to like the first one about
Watch.
fueling, and then the awesome one about gear
Oh, that
and
one was so.
strategy, well, I mean, they would have all like well prepared me for
Oh
this
my
race.
gosh,
So
yeah.
if I would have had any of that information, I think I would have had a better experience. But I think if you are going into this after, getting all of this expert advice, then I think you'll be good.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think, something that and I wrote a post about this on Monday, so you check that out, but just relaxing. Something, it's hard, as I was even writing, and I thought that I'm such a hypocrite, but the idea of not thinking about running for a few days is actually a really great way to relax and just kind of take your mind off of what you're about to do. And so watch some TV, read a book, read a magazine. It's okay to not think about running and what you're going to do for a little while, because it'll, I think, help you relax in a way that maybe that's all that you need in the next couple days. So that's something I wish, well, people are still telling me to do that. So something I guess I wish I would learn is just how to relax and not think about it quite so much. So anything else,
Right.
Jesse? Any final?
I don't have anything, Nathan, but I mean, you're running Twin Cities, so you must have some last minute advice. You got some
Well,
good.
yeah, I guess I can just tell you kind of what I have left to do on my to-do list. So what I'm going to do probably tomorrow, after I go and get my packet at the Caribou Coffee sponsored Pick Cup. Um, Great. I'm going to actually sit down with the course map, and I kind of already have this. Here's a course map, and probably can't really see it, but I'm actually going to figure out kind of exactly where all the water stops are and when I need to fuel, like we talked about in episode 1. And then if there's any gaps, because I anticipate there'll be at least one or two, I have a couple friends who have said they'd be willing to meet me along the course and hand me my goo later in the course because I don't want to carry all of it with me. But I'm going to think about that. I'm also going to figure out how I'm going to get to the race, which what I'm going to do, my plan is to, sorry, I dropped my map. I'm going to drive and park somewhere over by the U because it should be easy to park over there. Hop on the green line for free, show them my little thing, my bib, and then just zip over that way so that I don't have to deal with parking. And then after the race, since my family will be there, and they're gonna be parked way far away. I'm just gonna hop on the green line, get back to my car, and then go meet them for brunch. And otherwise, just getting
What are
lots
you
of
going to
food.
wear? It looks like it's going to be pretty cool, right?
It is, yes. So what I am wearing,
In this fashion.
yes, this is. Oh, thank you, thank you. So what I would go grab it over there, but I'm all connected here. I'm going to be wearing a blue race singlet with black arm warmers, gray Pearl Izumi shorts, and a gray headband. The arm warmers will just kind of see how how the temperature is. You should definitely start a little chilly. So that's basically the exact same wear. Well, I wear that for every race, but that's what I wore last year. And last year I think it was 52 or 3 degrees at race time, and so that worked perfectly for me. I'm also going to go actually to the Salvation Army or somewhere and get a big old extra double X large sweatpants and sweatshirt for a couple bucks, and I'm going to wear that so that I can wear it right up until before the gun goes off and then throw it to the side, like I think we mentioned during the gear episode. So, um, and I'll be wearing my awesome $15 Ironman triathlon sunglasses that I got at Target. So, do you have a standard race kit that you run in, Jesse, or do you mix it up every time?
My fitness fashion changes every time, but it sounds like you're well prepared, Nathan, and I think we're all very excited for you to qualify for Boston.
Oh, well, thank you. I hope so too. And it's about as public as it can get. So I hope, yeah, I just hope I have good news to report if we do another one of these in the future. So thank you very much for that encouragement. Jesse, I think we've covered everything we have in our notes here, unless you have any other questions for me. I guess
I don't. But I mean, does anybody else have any other questions for race day? If you do, ask them now.
yeah, a few people drop out here, but we still have a handful of people watching. Um, I guess too, I would just note that we're going to have a Minneapolis Running and Zoom Performance. We're going to have a little get together at 6:30 on Friday at the D'Amico in Uptown. And so if you want to swing by and just hang out for a little bit, you can meet me and Coach Vega, who is coaching a number of runners this year, and get any even more last minute advice. But at some point, okay, let's just be honest, cut off the last minute advice stuff and just relax and enjoy the next couple days, because Sunday afternoon is going to be time to celebrate. So,
Hmm.
Jesse, thank you again so much for doing this. Hopefully, your race goes awesome on, what is it, November 1st, 2nd?
Nice.
November something, yes. So good luck to you. Thank you again for this. And we will next time when ever that will be. So awesome, awesome race Sunday. Good luck to everyone. Have a great night. Goodbye.
Thank you.